Head of Operations for Sudan's Norwegian Refugee Council. He joins us now live from London. Tariq, thank you for being with us. Firstly, the conflict in Sudan has often been referred to as the world's forgotten war. Do you think the international community will finally come to the Sudanese people's aid?
As you mentioned, the numbers are frightening at the moment. This is by far the world's largest humanitarian crisis. However, we don't see much attention placed on the impacts of the war, which has now lasted more than 18 months, and the famine that has now commenced. We therefore call, first of all, to the international community to intervene and stop the conflict as soon as possible so that we can have unfettered access to help the people on the ground.
And what will it take to turn things around for the millions of people suffering? As we've heard earlier today, despite it being harvest season, people are still starving, on the brink of starving. 5 areas across the country are in famine. So what will it take to turn things around?
As long as the conflict continues the way it is right now, access of humanitarian aid and commercial trucks is going to remain constricted. This will cause the continued suffering of the people who are unable to meet their basic needs. Therefore, the first thing we need is for fighting to stop, and then for all parties to the conflict to grant access to all areas in the country so that we can move unconstrained. This requires a lot of logistics. It requires funding from the international community to support these efforts. And it requires complete access to all parts of the country, especially those currently at risk of famine. As you mentioned, significant parts in Darfur, in Kordofan state, but also other parts that we may not know all the information that we need.
And what about the UN's appeal for $4.2 billion? Is that an appeal that you have faith will be taken up by the international community?
Currently, we have been repeatedly disappointed by the response of the international community, also as it pertains to funding. If we compare it to the funding that other crises are receiving, of course, those crises need all the money they are getting. But Sudan, as I did mention, is the world's largest humanitarian crisis at the moment and needs just as much, if not more, attention. Therefore, more needs to be done. This requires all countries to participate and to support the efforts on the ground. Ultimately, humanitarian assistance is only the beginning. So we still need commercial pathways to open up and the population to have access to all of their needs beyond just humanitarian assistance.
Tariq Roland Riebl, Head of Operations for Sudan's Norwegian Refugee Council. Thank you so much for your time with us here on TRT World.